Wake up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. It's not an accident, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call from your mind and body. While most people just roll over and waste this special hour, you have a rare chance to outgrow your competition. Think about your life. Get a head start on mastering your day. But here's the important thing: if you're not using this time, you're wasting your potential. Waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. used to frustrate me. I'd stare at the ceiling, wishing I could fall back asleep. But then I realized something. Those quiet hours weren't a curse. They were. It's a gift that most people never get to open. At first, I thought it was just stress or anxiety keeping me awake. Over time, I started using those early mornings differently. I started reflecting, planning, getting in touch with myself. And you know what? My life changed. Instead of wasting that time, I learned that it's the perfect moment for clarity. There's something deeply powerful about being still when the world is quiet and you're alone with your thoughts. Those moments when you realize how much you've been avoiding them. Those hours hold the answers that most people never want to face. That's exactly why they're so valuable. So, before you hit snooze on your potential, ask yourself what you could do with this time that no one else is willing to use. 1. Reflect on your thoughts. Waking up at 3 a.m. is one of those things that throws people off. The world is quiet. The darkness feels heavier. Suddenly there's nothing between you and your thoughts. That's where the real work begins. When you're lying there, wide awake, unable to fall back asleep, your mind is practically screaming for attention. Instead of listening, most people panic. They grab their phones, turn on the TV, scroll through social media, trying to drown out that internal noise. Let's be honest. It's easier to escape than to confront what's really bothering you. Here's where I'm going to get real with you. Those early morning wake ups. They're not random. They're the universe or your subconscious trying to tell you something. When everything is still and you have no daily distractions, you're forced to sit with your thoughts. That's scary for most people. You can't hide behind your busy schedule or blame other things. At 3 a.m., it's just you and the things you've been avoiding. This is the point where most people give up because it's so much. It's easier to distract yourself than to deal with what's really going on. Let me get personal for a second. I used to hate waking up at 3 a.m. I'd lie there, unable to sleep. The truth is, I wasn't just waking up because I had a bad dream or because I had too much caffeine. I was waking up because I was avoiding certain parts of my life. And at night, when it was quiet, there was nowhere to run. I'd replay conversations where I wasn't being honest with myself. I made excuses or ignored situations that felt wrong. I didn't want to face them. The truth is that 3 a.m. can make you more aware of what you're avoiding during the day. Here's where people disagree. Waking up at that time is a sign that something in your life needs your attention. Most people won't admit it. They'll say it's stress from work or their busy schedule. Deep down, they know it's something more. Maybe you're in a relationship that's making you feel bad. You don't want to admit it. Maybe you're in a job that doesn't make you happy. You're too scared to change. Maybe you've been avoiding facing a difficult truth about yourself. Like the fact that you're not living up to your own standards or letting fear control your life. I can tell you from personal experience that avoiding these thoughts doesn't work. When I stopped fighting it and actually let myself think about those early morning wake-up calls, everything changed. I started asking myself some hard questions. Why am I awake right now? What's bothering me? What needs to change in my life? I got real honest. You see, most people don't wake up at 3 a.m. because everything's fine. They wake up because something is off. It's a moment of clarity that's trying to break through. Here's the thing, this moment is an opportunity. Not a burden. At 3 a.m. when it's just you and your thoughts, you have a chance to get brutally honest with yourself. This is where real self-growth starts with discomfort. It's also where you find the answers that your busy, distracted mind won't let you see during the day. Instead of filling that silence with distractions, use it to reflect deeply. I started doing this regularly. It wasn't easy. The first few times, my thoughts were messy. I was faced with uncomfortable truths about my own habits, my relationships. I thought about where my life was going. The more I thought about it, the clearer things became. I realized that I wasn't just waking up because of random thoughts. I was waking up because my life was not in line with my values. I wasn't living as true to myself. I was avoiding the hard conversations and tough decisions I needed to make. Once I realized this, things started to change. Now, when I wake up at 3 a.m., I see it as a gift. I use that quiet time to think about my choices, my goals, what's really important. I use it to adjust and focus again. If something is bothering me, I figure out why. If I'm avoiding something, I face it head on. I use this time to think about my life and what matters to me. I use it to adjust and focus again. If something is bothering me, I figure out why. If I'm avoiding something, I deal with it. This habit has really changed my life. Here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. If you wake up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your life is trying to tell you something. You've been too busy, distracted, afraid to listen. Don't waste this chance. Think about your thoughts and be honest. You'll be surprised at how much clarity you can find in those quiet early hours when you're willing to think. Write down your thoughts. When you wake up at 3 a.m., your mind is very active. The thoughts that come at this time are strong and often the ones you've been ignoring all day. Instead of letting them run through your head, grab a journal and start writing them down. This might sound easy. There's something powerful about putting your thoughts on paper. It turns chaos into clarity. Most people don't realize that journaling isn't just about writing. Think about what happened during your day. It's about dealing with the feelings and thoughts that we often hide deep inside. Those thoughts you have in the morning, they're the ones that show you the truth you've been avoiding. Let me give you an example. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, feeling overwhelmed by everything I hadn't done or things I was stressing over. My mind would race. Did I make the right choice? Am I headed in the right direction? What if I'm wasting my potential? I would worry more and more. By the time my alarm went off, I would feel like I had already run a mental marathon even before I got out of bed. It wasn't until I started writing in a journal that I realized something. Those thoughts weren't just random. They were clues to what I was really struggling with. By writing them down, I began to see patterns, recurring fears, areas of my life where I was stuck. Here's the thing, most people don't journal because they're scared of facing their problems. What are they really thinking? They think that if they don't write it down, it's not real. Here's the truth, it is real. Whether you acknowledge it or not. The problem is that if you don't face it, it controls you. When you write your thoughts at 3 a.m., you take back that control. You're giving yourself the chance to see what's really driving you. What's holding you back? What's keeping you up at night? I'm not talking about writing some fluffy stuff that makes you feel good nonsense. I'm talking about being honest in a way that's not filtered or changed. When you wake up at 3 a.m. and start writing, don't hold back. Say everything you want to say. Say the things you're afraid of. The things that frustrate you. The things you hope for. The things you regret. It's in this space that you start to realize just how much you've been avoiding in your day-to-day life. Daily life is where you grow. When you see your thoughts written down, you can't run from them anymore. For me, journaling at 3 a.m. was a great way to grow as a person. Awareness. I realized that a lot of my anxiety came from not taking action on things I knew I needed to do. I'd write down the same fears over and over again. Why haven't I made that call? Why am I holding on to this relationship that's draining me? Why am I not taking initiative at work? Seeing those thoughts repeatedly made it clear that I wasn't moving forward because I wasn't facing the truth. Here's where journaling gets real. It forces you to face your own lies. When you read back what you've written, you can't lie to yourself anymore. If you keep waking up worrying about the same things, it's a sign you're not taking action where you need to. And let's be honest. Most people aren't ready to face that. They'll tell themselves they're just stressed or it's not a big deal. Deep down, they know better. Writing down your thoughts removes the excuses and shows you the reality of your situation. Think about it. When was the last time you took some time for yourself to relax and think? Not about your to-do list or the things that distract you. About what's actually going on in your mind. Writing in your journal at 3 a.m. is a way to deal with the thoughts you usually push aside because they're uncomfortable. It's your chance to be brutally honest with yourself. If you keep waking up stressed, anxious, uncertain, it's time to ask yourself why. Writing in your journal can help you do that. Journaling is a great way to understand your thoughts and feelings. Some people might think it is unnecessary. It can actually be very helpful. Those who avoid journaling are often the ones who need it the most. They are afraid of what they will find when they start writing down their thoughts. However, I can tell you from experience that writing regularly can help you understand your thoughts and feelings. You will start to see patterns in your thoughts and gain a deeper understanding of yourself. Most people never reach awareness because they're too busy avoiding their own truth. Journaling gives you clarity. At 3 a.m. when your thoughts feel overwhelming, writing them down gives them structure. It takes the weight off your mind. It makes things real. You'll see things you've been avoiding. Decisions you've been too scared to make. Parts of your life that are causing you stress. Once it's on paper, you can finally do something about it. You can make a plan. You can decide to take action. Stop running from your own mind. So, the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't just lie there in frustration. Grab a journal and let your thoughts flow. Be real. Be raw. Don't censor yourself. You'll be surprised at how much clarity you'll gain by simply writing it all down, and trust me, those middle-of-the-night thoughts are trying to tell you something. Don't waste the opportunity to listen. Point 3. Make a to-do list. You wake up at 3 a.m. and your mind is racing. What do you do next, instead of getting stressed? Anxious. Fighting it. Turn that energy into something productive. Point 1. Of the simplest but most effective habits you can build in the early morning is creating a to-do list. That I'm not talking about a basic half-finished list. Make a to-do list. You wake up at 3 a.m. and your mind is racing. What do you do next? Instead of feeling stressed or anxious, turn that energy into something productive. One of the simplest but most effective habits you can build in these early morning hours is creating a to-do list. I'm not talking about a basic, half-hearted scribble of tasks that you'll barely look at later. I mean a real, detailed, focused list that gives your day structure and purpose. Here's why this matters. Waking up at 3 a.m. is often a sign that something's out of balance. Maybe you're overwhelmed with responsibilities or you've been procrastinating on important tasks. The act of making a to-do list can help. Making a to-do list in the early hours is your way of taking back control of your day. Your mind. Ultimately your life. Think about it, when you're lying there in the dark, overwhelmed by everything you have to do. Your brain can't possibly focus. Writing it all down gives you clarity, organization, the ability to actually see what needs to be done. Let me give you a real example from my life. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, panicked, making a to-do list about work, personal goals, deadlines I hadn't met was important. My brain would be jumping from one thing to another. Did I send that email? Have I prepared for tomorrow's meeting? What about that personal project I keep putting off? It felt like I was drowning in a sea of unfinished tasks. I'd spend hours just stressing over it. And by the time the sun came up, I was mentally exhausted before the day even started. But then, I started turning those anxious thoughts into action. Ups into something productive by making detailed to-do lists right there at 3 a.m. Here's the thing, writing it all down stops the mental clutter, instead of feeling like everything's spiraling out of control. Your tasks suddenly feel manageable. It's almost like you're transferring the weight from your brain to the page, and let's be real, most of the time, it's not as bad as you think once it's written down. You realize that those looming tasks are actually achievable. One step at a time. A good to-do list can help you get things done. Do list can help you take action, but let's get controversial here. Most people don't make to-do lists. Do lists because they're afraid of seeing how little they actually accomplish. Yeah, I said it. It's easier to keep things vague, to convince yourself that you're too busy, too overwhelmed, that you'll get to it eventually. But that's the problem, eventually never comes if you're not intentional about it. A 3 a.m. wake-up call is a sign that something's out of balance. Making a to-do list is a good way to get organized. It helps you see what needs to be done and gives you a sense of structure and purpose. There's a reason why this is important. If you wake up at 3 a.m., it might be a sign that something's out of balance. Maybe you're overwhelmed with responsibilities or procrastinating on important tasks. The act of making a to-do list is a good way to get your thoughts in order. Now, don't just make any random list. Be strategic about it. Here's how I do it. I split my list into two sections. The first section is for must-dos. These are the non-negotiables. The things that must get done that day, no matter what. It's usually a small number of high-priority tasks. Impact tasks that move me forward in my career. Personal goals. Well-being. The second section is for the nice to. Making a list of things you want to do is important. It helps you understand what your day should look like. Here's why this is important. If you wake up at 3 a.m., it probably means that something is off. Maybe you have too many things to do or you haven't finished an important task. The things on this list are things that you want to do. They won't ruin your day if you don't get to them. The best part of this system is that it helps you prioritize. Many people make their lists with too many things. Then they feel like they have failed when they don't check everything off. This is because they are trying to do too many things at once. Waking up at 3 a.m. gives you a rare moment of clarity. You can see what is really important and what is not. By breaking your list into must, make a list of things you want to do and things you don't want to do. This will help you focus on the most important things for your day. Here's another thing to consider. Don't just list tasks. Go deeper. I've started adding why next to each task. Why do I need to do this? What's the purpose behind this item on my list? This is where things get powerful. Instead of just mindlessly checking boxes, you're aligning your to-do list with your values and long-term goals. Making a to-do list can help you get organized and set goals for yourself. If you're struggling to sleep at 3 a.m. because you're worried about a project, write it down and ask yourself why you're stressed. This kind of self-reflection can help you understand your priorities and make your to-do list more than just a productivity tool. It can also be a way to grow as a person. If you're not making a to-do list, you might be going through life without a clear sense of direction. When you wake up in the middle of the night, it's your mind trying to tell you something. You feel like you don't have control of your day. Make a to-do list. This is your chance to take control. Here's the hard truth. Most people won't do this. It forces them to confront the fact that they've been wasting time, avoiding responsibility, not living up to their own potential. Trust me. I've been there. I used to wake up at 3 a.m. with a list of things I knew I should have done but didn't. I'd spend the next few hours tossing and turning, dreading the day ahead. The moment I started making a to-do list. Do list. In the early hours of the morning, my perspective shifted. I no longer dreaded the day because I had a clear sense of purpose and direction. This sense of purpose and direction was lacking when I let my thoughts run wild. So, the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., grab a pen and paper and make a to-do list. Make a to-do list that's realistic and tied to your values. Don't just list random tasks. Focus on what will move you forward. Confront the things you've been avoiding. Trust me, getting up at 3 a.m. isn't a curse. It's an opportunity to get ahead of the day. Reclaim your mental space. Take charge of your life. Embrace the quiet solitude. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. often feels like you're the only one in the world who's awake. That eerie quietness. The stillness of the night. It's unsettling at first. Let me tell you something most people miss. This quiet solitude is a gift. It's one of the few times in the day when the world stops demanding things from you. No texts. No calls. No distractions. Just you. Your thoughts. The silence. Most people hate being alone with their thoughts. It's uncomfortable. We are taught to always fill the quiet with noise. We use social media, Netflix, music, our phones without stopping. When you wake up in the middle of the night and everything is still, there's nowhere to hide from yourself. That's why being alone can be so powerful. It gets rid of the distractions and forces you to face the one person you can't escape, yourself. Here's the controversial truth: most people avoid this kind of quiet because they're afraid of what they'll find. They're scared of facing their own fears, worries, setbacks. It's easier to block them out with the noise of everyday life. When you're awake at 3 a.m. and it's quiet, that's your chance to sit with yourself and think about where you are in life. It's uncomfortable. Yes. Discomfort is where you grow. I remember a time when I used to hate waking up in the middle of the night. I'd feel anxious, restless, lonely. The silence made me feel small. Like my problems seemed bigger in the quiet of the night. But over time I started to see its value. The quiet forced me to reflect. I couldn't do that during the busyness of the day. There was no one around to influence my thoughts, distract me from what I needed to face. It hit me one night when I was sitting there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of all the things I hadn't done. Instead of trying to push the thoughts away, I embraced them. I let the quiet solitude wash over me. Accepted that this was my space to think. Truly think. Not just about who I was, making lists of things to do and responsibilities to take care of each day. But I was also thinking about who I was becoming and where I was headed. In that quiet moment, I started asking myself some difficult questions. Am I happy with where I am in my life? Why do I keep avoiding one particular thing? What am I afraid of? The quiet gave me the mental space to think more deeply than I usually do. And guess what? The answers I sought didn't come from scrolling through Instagram or watching a lot of TV shows. They came from sitting in the silence and listening to my own mind. Most people are so afraid of being alone because it makes them face their inner fears. Doubts. Failures. Here's the truth, those fears don't go away just because you're avoiding them. They're still there. The quiet of 3 a.m. brings them to the surface. That's not something to run from. It's something to face. Once you face them, you can deal with them. That's how you grow. Solitude, especially in the middle of the night, is when you can be most honest with yourself. It's a rare moment. When you're by yourself and nobody's watching, you can be yourself. You won't have to worry about meeting other people's expectations or trying to be someone you're not. You can just be yourself. This will help you understand yourself better. It will show you things about yourself that you wouldn't see otherwise. When you're alone, you can get to the real you. Think about it. When was the last time you really sat alone and thought about your thoughts? No distractions. No multitasking. Just you and the silence. It's probably been a while. Right. We live in a world that always demands our attention and pulls us in every direction. It's important to take time for yourself. Waking up at 3 a.m. is a sign that you need to slow down and pay attention to your thoughts. It's telling you to be alone and let yourself think. Here's the tricky part, being alone doesn't mean just zoning out or letting your mind wander. It's about being deliberate and thinking about your life. Use that quiet time to ask yourself hard questions. What are you avoiding in your life? What's keeping you stuck? Why aren't you taking action on the things you know you need to do? This is where you have to put in the real work. The quiet forces you to face the truth you've been running from. That's where you grow. In my own life, those moments of solitude at 3 a.m. have become some of the most meaningful times of self. Why aren't you taking action on the things you know you need to do? This is where the real work happens. The quiet forces you to face the truth you've been running from. That's where growth begins. In my own life, those 3 a.m. moments of solitude have become some of the most meaningful times of self-reflection. I've realized things in those quiet hours that I never would have if I had just filled the space with distractions. I've made decisions in that stillness that have changed the course of my life because the quiet gave me the clarity to see what was really important. Here's the truth, most people will never experience this because they're too afraid of being alone with their thoughts. They'll fill the silence with whatever they can, TV, podcasts, social media, anything to avoid the discomfort of solitude. But those who are willing to sit with the silence, to embrace the quiet of the night, those who do will find clarity, growth, purpose. So, the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't reach for your phone. Don't try to distract yourself. Sit in the stillness. Embrace the quiet. Let your mind wander. Let your thoughts flow. See what comes up. You might be surprised at what you discover about yourself in those moments of solitude. And when the sun finally rises, you'll be ahead of the game, while everyone else was sleeping. You are getting to know the most important person in your life, you. Stretch your body. At 3 a.m. When you're wide awake and the world is still asleep. Your body might feel stiff. Heavy. Restless. It's tempting to just lie there, hoping sleep will take over again. What if you use this moment to pay attention to your body? A simple stretch can make a big difference physically, mentally, emotionally. Most people don't realize how much tension they carry in their bodies. A good stretch at this time can be the reset you didn't know you needed. Here's the reality: when you're tossing and turning in bed, your body is begging for release. Stretching isn't just about loosening up stiff muscles. It's about waking up your whole body. You've been lying still for hours. Your muscles get tight. Blood flow slows down. Your body becomes a little stagnant. Stretching brings your body back to life, sending fresh oxygen to. Stretching isn't just about loosening up stiff muscles. It's about waking up your whole body. You've been lying still for hours. Your muscles get tight. Blood flow slows down. Your body becomes a little stagnant. Stretching brings your body back to life by sending fresh oxygen and blood flow to where it's needed most. I personally used to ignore the signs my body was giving me. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. feeling restless, mentally and physically. I'd just lie there, staring at the ceiling, hoping sleep would return. But when I started incorporating stretching into my early wake-up routine, stretching can make you feel much better than I used to feel tired all the time. After I started stretching, I felt much more energetic. It's like all the tension from the day just goes away. But here's the thing, most people think that stretching is just for athletes or people who do yoga. But your body really needs it. Especially if you're sitting or standing for a long time, stretching helps your body recover. It's like your body saying, "Hey, I need some care." Here's an interesting idea: we live in a society that values mental strength and productivity. We often neglect our bodies until something goes wrong, that we push through discomfort and ignore stiffness. Then we're surprised when we feel tired all the time, that we take our bodies for granted. Stretching at 3 a.m. when the world is quiet is a way to reconnect with your physical self and give it the care and attention it deserves. Here's the surprising benefit: stretching your body also benefits your mind. The two are deeply connected. When I started waking up early and stretching, it became more than just a physical release. It became a way to ritual. I realized that stretching wasn't just about loosening up my muscles. It was about loosening up my mind too. As I stretched, I could feel the tension of the day. The stress. The overthinking. The mental clutter start to fade. It was almost meditative. I wasn't just stretching my body. I was stretching my mind, creating space for clarity and peace. But let's get deeper. Stretching in the quiet hours of the morning is about more than just feeling good. It's about getting ready for the day ahead. You're not just waking up your body. You're getting it ready for the challenges you'll face. Think about it: you've been lying in bed. Your muscles tense. Your blood flowing slowly. How can you face the day if your body isn't ready? Stretching is a form of self-care. Stretching lets you take control of your body and mind. It's like turning a negative experience, like waking up in the middle of the night, into something positive. Stretching in the dark and silence lets you focus on your body and your thoughts. It's almost magical. Stretching isn't just about loosening up stiff muscles. It's about waking up your whole body. You've been lying still for hours. Your muscles get tight. Blood flow slows down. Your body becomes a little stagnant. Stretching brings your body back to life, sending fresh oxygen to your body and feeling in control of your body and your mind. It's empowering. You've taken a moment of discomfort. Like waking up in the middle of the night. Turned it into something productive. Something that benefits you. Honestly. There's something almost magical about stretching in the dark. In the silence. When the world is asleep. It's just you. Your body. The silence. No distractions. No noise. Let's talk about the practical side of it. You don't need a full workout routine at 3 a.m. Start small. Simple stretches like reaching your arms above your head. Rolling your shoulders. Touching your toes can do wonders. I like to start with a full body stretch. Reaching my arms as far above my head as possible. Feeling that pull in my spine. Then I'll move into some gentle neck rolls. Shoulder rolls. Hamstring stretches. It doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be intentional. Listen to your body. Where are you feeling tight? Where's the tension? Stretch those areas out. What I've found is that after stretching for just a few minutes, I'm not only physically more relaxed. Mentally I'm in a better place too. My mind isn't racing anymore. The act of stretching and focusing on my body pulls me out of my head. It's like hitting a reset button. By the time I'm done, I feel grounded. More connected to myself. Ready for whatever comes next. Whether that's going back to sleep or taking on the day. Let's be honest. Most of us don't give our bodies the attention they deserve. We spend our days sitting in front of screens. Hunched over. Button. By the time I'm done, I feel grounded. More connected to myself. Ready for whatever comes next. Whether that's going back to sleep or taking on the day. Let's be honest, most of us don't give our bodies the attention they deserve. We spend our days sitting in front of screens. Hunched over. Disconnected from our physical selves. Then we wonder why we feel tense. Stressed. Drained. Stretching at 3 a.m. is your chance to reverse that cycle. It's your moment to reconnect with your body. Release the tension. Honor the vessel that carries you through life. It's a small act of self-care that can have a huge impact on how you feel physically and mentally. So the next time you wake up at 3 a.m. don't just lie there. Get out of bed. Stretch. Feel the tension melt away. It's not just about flexibility or fitness. It's about giving yourself the space to reset. Clear your mind. Prepare for the day ahead, trust me. You'll thank yourself for it later. So the next time you find yourself awake between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. don't see it as a curse. See it as an opportunity. These quiet hours could be the start of something great, disconnected from our bodies. Then we wonder why we feel tense. Stressed. Tired. Stretching at 3 a.m. is your chance to reverse that cycle. It's your moment to reconnect with your body. Release the tension. Honor your body that carries you through life. It's a small act of self-change you never knew you needed. Reflect. Stretch. Plan. Embrace the solitude. While everyone else is stuck in the same old routine, you'll be ahead of the game. You'll use those precious hours to grow. Reset. Take control of your life. Remember, life doesn't wait for the perfect time. Sometimes the best moments happen when the world is asleep. What will you do with your 3 a.m.?